Money 105.5 with Glenn Spillman and Charlton Curry. This is Epic Sports Radio.
Welcome to the show. My name is Charlton Curry, along with Glenn Spillman and Big C. Today is December 23rd, 2015. You're listening to Epic Sports Radio, and we love talking sports, whether it's NFL football, that's really big right now, Glenn, NBA basketball, Major League Baseball, it's all good. And also, Glenn, I know that when you listen to Epic Sports Radio, we are worldwide.
We are worldwide. You know what? And I'm looking at analytics right here, man. People that are listening in. We got Japan, Croatia, Canada, Germany right now listening, and all across the United States.
Well, all across the United States. I want to thank our partners also at ESPN, because we know we have people that listen in there. And we have a special guest before we get into NFL football. We know everyone, at least it's our opinion, that you should go see the movie Concussion. It's opening on Christmas Day, and Will Smith is actually up for a Golden Globe, Glenn.
Yep.
And concussions is all the talk right now, not just in the NFL, but also in college football, and then even in the youth sports.
Yeah, it goes all the way down Pee Wee League, yes.
All the way down to Pee Wee League football. So we have a special guest in Lamont Kavanaugh, and you can introduce him, Glenn.
Yeah, before we get there, I want to thank, Party Brushes. I was at an event last night, Paint and Wine with Party Brushes. I had a great time. You need to check them out on Facebook. You can go to www.partybrushes.now.com. They've been around for about a year, and their company culture is they put the party in the brushes. They have three goals, really. They want people to walk away with amazing painting, have an amazing time, and bonding with their friends, and people meet new friends while they're there. Last night, there's about 41 people. They teach you how to they have different paintings that they do. They teach you from step one all the way to the end, and it is a great time. And I want to thank Lori Amberlin with that, and I wanted to thank the company SIP up in Auburn. It's just a great time. But getting to Dr. Kavanaugh, sir, thank you for being online. Dr. Kavanaugh, he's a Tulsa native. He's dedicated to improving the health of the community that he loves. He earned his undergraduate degree. He attended medical school and completed family medicine and residency in sports medicine fellowship at the University of Oklahoma. Boomer Sooner. I'm wearing the Sooners jersey right here, so always got to give a shout-out to my boys. And, the great thing that I love about this gentleman is he spent 5 years as an Air Force flight surgeon and is currently Chief Aerospace Medicine for the 138th Fighter Wing of the Oklahoma Air National Guard. He's a fellow OU alum, and he's also a fellow military personnel. That's awesome. A couple more things about Dr. Kavanaugh. He's the associate professor at the OU School of Community Medicine, medical director for the OU Physicians Health at Work program, Sports Medicine Fellowship Program Center for the Exercise and Sports Medicine, and Center for Sports Concussion. But he ranks as one of the top doctors in Oklahoma and has gained national attention as an expert in the field of sports medicine. So we don't just have some dude that we just pulled off the streets talking about concussions. Exactly. We have one of the top people in the United States of America, Dr. Lamont Kavanaugh. Welcome to the show, brother.
Thank you very much. I appreciate the intro. And, again, Boomer Sooner, absolutely.
Thank you. Yes, sir. Well, you know what? Kind of give us your, I'm sure, about the movie that's coming out, and I'm sure you know about the movement. Tell us a little bit about your background in studying about concussions in sports, not just football either. You got concussions. I got a friend of mine that wrestles at OU, Shane Tucker, and we were talking the other day, and it's all a lot of sports. So tell us your, about your expertise in that and kind of the studies that you've done.
Well, we've been involved in sports medicine. I've been involved in sports medicine now for the last 20 years. And as part of that, and we see probably more concussions than anybody else does because we just get such a concentration of them. We definitely see them throughout all sports. Football is our number one sport that we see them in just because of the sheer number of people that play. And especially in states like Oklahoma and Texas where football is huge, there's a lot of kids playing football. But, one of our other areas where we see it significantly is in soccer. And, we kind of have a saying that, if girls played football, women's football would have the highest rate of concussions of about anything out there. Yeah. So we really notice there is that difference between boys and girls, but we see it across the spectrum. And being in a center for concussion, what we also see is we had a lot of adults that get concussions, and a lot of adults play sports. They get them from that, but they also get them from automobile accidents. And probably I would say probably about 60% of the adults that I see with concussions, they get them from automobile accidents. And, before the last few years, most of the time you got involved in an accident and you'd go to the ER and they'd kind of address whatever bumps and bruise you had or whatever major thing they saw, but they typically forgot anything having to do with your head.
Right.
And so we see that a lot.
Right.
Dr. Kavanaugh, this is Charlton. I want to ask you a question, too. You mentioned not just football, but there's also soccer. There's a lot of soccer moms that play throughout the week. And if you're an athlete and you play for the NFL or if you play major college football, they often have a concussion protocol on the sideline. So that way, if you're injured, they can find out. Now, what type of advice would you give to parents or even someone playing recreational sports if they have a concussion? How would they know? What are some of the signs to look for?
Well, typically what we'll see is if somebody will sustain some type of an injury, and one of the misperceptions is that they've got to be hit in the head, and that's not true.
Yes.
It absolutely can be a blow to the head, but it also can be a whiplash type of injury where they may get hit really hard from one side and causing their head to get thrown to the front or to the back or to the side, and so their head may not ever contact another person or the ground. But if they see something where it looks like they're at high risk, you kind of get that, oh, man, that looks like that hurt. Somebody needs to sit down with that athlete and at least find out what's going on. So if they get that, they immediately start having a headache. They start acting not quite right.
Yes.
They feel like they're in a fog. Something like that that's going on, then they need to be taken out and they need to be assessed by somebody.
Right.
And before they're allowed to get back into playing, they need to be seen by an individual that knows what they're doing to take care of concussions and be cleared to go back to play. And typically what we say, especially in youth sports, is, if you get a concussion, you're done for the day.
Yes.
And that really should carry out throughout college and professional sports too. And now we're starting to see those protocols that really go along that line. Sometimes it can be challenging. Somebody gets hit and you're trying to determine did they really get concussed or not.
Yes.
There are some objective tests that we can kind of do. Typically in the younger ages, though, when you talk about with soccer moms or with parents watching their kids play sports, if there's a question about them getting a concussion, they need to come out of the game.
Okay.
They need to be assessed sometime later.
All right. So, like, if someone can get a violent hit from the side, not necessarily getting their head hit to the ground. Now, why do you think? Well, we'll just say in college, and we'll say in professional. Why do you think that they don't take the player out for a longer period of time? Is it just that mentality of we got to win the game?
Frequently, it is. There are different things riding on it when you get to college sports and when you get to professional sports, for sure. And there are some times where it's difficult to tell. So you'll see somebody on the sideline and looks like they took a pretty violent hit. They're not displaying any of the signs or symptoms that go along with having a concussion. And even though we look at it and you go, man, it looks like you should have gotten a concussion, we can't see any objective things that lead us in that direction. The challenge with that, though, is that sometimes those symptoms really won't appear for 24 to 48 hours. So you really have to have a high index of suspicion when you're dealing with these athletes. There are other times that the symptoms they may display may be very subtle. And a great example I saw with a high school kid a couple of years ago was he took a pretty violent hit. It's at the end of the game. We're in the second round of the playoffs.
Yeah.
There's about a minute left. Everybody calls timeout. And this kid, we saw that he got hit. He jumped right up. Didn't look like there was an issue. Well, he was actually standing in the defensive huddle listening to the coach talk. The problem was he was purely an offensive player.
Oh, wow.
And he wasn't aware enough of
so
his
he didn't even know
surroundings
where he
to
was.
realize. He didn't realize he was in the defensive huddle talking about a play as opposed to being where he needed to be in the offensive huddle.
Doctor, let me ask you this question, Doctor. As you know, you've been covering this for about 20 years now. I know there's some medical practice being done at UCLA where instead of waiting until the end of life to discover if an athlete had the disease. I know there are things that they can do while they're still alive, but I want to ask you this question. We talk a lot about the NFL and Commissioner Roger Goodell, who I think is doing a decent job overall. However, there's something that's a little bit disconcerting, and you have broadcasters that are on TV every single Saturday and Sunday, whether it's a Bob Costas or whether it's John Sanders. It could be a Chris Myers or Rondé Barber or whomever. We even have the great Troy Aikman. They're all talking football. Terry Bradshaw, they all talk football all the time. A lot of these guys played the game. As a medical doctor, do you feel that Roger Goodell, who makes $44 million a year, do you think the NFL has put enough emphasis on keeping these players safe for after their playing days?
Well, it's hard because I am not intimately involved with all the workings in the NFL. So without being able to see what they really are doing day to day, it's hard for me to know. I know that in the last couple of years, they have really changed what they're doing, trying to work harder to try to protect players.
Yes.
There's a lot of pressure on both sides, though. From a player side, there's a lot of players that, they want to be out there playing. They get paid to play the game, and they want to be playing. I think the other aspect is we really are learning a lot more. Our knowledge of concussions has exploded in the last 10 years.
Yes. Truly.
And, one of the things, like you're mentioning with UCLA, they're doing a lot of work with the CTE, and that's the chronic traumatic encephalopathy that really is talked about in the movie Concussion.
Yes.
They're doing a lot with that work, which we still have a lot to learn about. It's a relatively new phenomenon. There are a lot of confounding factors that go along with that. Why do you get some people that get CTE and have evidence of that after playing, and yet you have other people who seem to have a full career and don't display any of those symptoms? Why do you have some boxers that obviously get that and you have others that don't? So we don't really know exactly what that is and what underlies that. We do know that concussion itself is not what causes CTE.
Right.
A lot of what we see with CTE is a lot of that repetitive blow. So you'll see some people that they're going to develop this CTE, and they may not have ever reported an out-and-out concussion. And that can be challenging in evaluating that. We have a lot to learn along those lines, but we're getting more and more discoveries that help us with that every day.
Dr. Cavanaugh, in the last 2 minutes of the program, I just want to ask you this question, because we love football. I know you talked about Oklahoma, and Oklahoma is in the national championship game. The college game is exciting. There's so much pressure on winning. And unlike an NFL player where you have multi-million-dollar contracts, I believe they all play for free, at least on top of the table in college football. There might be some people who get paid under the table. But in the last minute and a half, what would you advise to the sports leagues, whether it's football, basketball, or baseball, from a medical perspective? What can you see and advice would you give to make the game safer in the last minute and a half?
Well, I think some of the critical things we need to do is always look at what we're doing from a rule standpoint. And so maintain the rules. I think targeting and changing that rule was a big change.
Yes.
People like the excitement of the game and the excitement of the hard hit. There's a lot of things that can be accomplished in football without crushing somebody else.
Yes.
You want to stop that. You want to stop them from going forward. You can do that without crushing them, although that takes away some of that excitement out of the game. So there are some things that you can do like that can help protect players. A lot of it is really getting people to understand and getting the players to understand and coaches to understand what this is all about, and that it can really lead to some long-term implications for people. You hate seeing people that go all the way and play through college, and we know that the very, very small percentage of them are ever going to get paid money to play this game. We'd hate for them to spend all that time doing that and then in 15 to 20 years be left with a crippling brain issue that may have been able to be prevented sometime earlier. I think One of the other big things we really got to look at is, when do we really start allowing kids to hit?
Right, and they need to learn that as youth. They need to be taught, the proper ways to be. They need to be educated, both the players, coaches, staff, everybody.
Right. Well, and what we've really seen this change now. So if you go look in Division I college teams, they hit very little.
Right.
So because they know that the more you hit, the more you get hurt.
Right. Yeah.
Yet we still have all these youth leagues that they start them hitting right off the bat. Is it important for a first grade kid? And we have this in Oklahoma all over. Is it important for a first grader to really be playing tackle football?
Right.
When really what they need to do is figure out what a football is and what is offense and what is defense.
Well, Dr. Kavanaugh, we do appreciate your time on the show. And as we know, everyone's talking about concussion. If you're a parent, doctor's not saying stop playing football, stop playing basketball, or even playing soccer. They're just saying learn to make the game safer and know some of the things to look for. And you can find out more as we come back talking NFL football on Epic Sports Radio every Wednesday at 4 o'clock p.m. Pacific Standard Time worldwide on Money 105.5.
X-Life Power Boards is revolutionizing the way you travel. Our boards are intelligent, innovative, and empowering. These boards feature Bluetooth speaker, 2 motors, Samsung long life battery. They are waterproof and dustproof, and they are faster than most models out there on the market. And you can buy a board for as low as $72 a month. So come join us at X-Life and get a board. Live free, ride free. XLPowerboards.com.
Get life insurance in 3 easy steps. California license number 0180132. Number 1, no physical. Number 2, no blood test. Number 3, no medical exam. Qualify for $5,000 or more in final expense. Affordable rates. We cover the VA and seniors. Ask a senior life agent to contact you about retirement, annuities, and a life insurance policy. Call 916-896-5757. Protect the people you love. Call 916-896-5757.
Holiday mattress sale at Mattress by Appointment Sacramento. All mattresses are 80% off retail store prices. We buy directly from the factory and pass the savings on to you. I show them by appointment only to keep our overhead costs low, which saves you money. All inventory is brand new and sealed. I have pillow tops, gel foam, memory foam, plush, and Euro tops. Don't miss your opportunity to get the mattress you have been dreaming about. At these prices, they won't last long. $40 down takes home a mattress set. No credit needed. Call Chuck today at Mattress by Appointment Sacramento, 916-230-0113.
At Gamble Insurance Agency, we put the odds in your favor. We handle most or all of your insurance needs and act as your insurance advisor. We will put together a suitable buying strategy with your financial future in mind. We are an independent farmers agency. Call Kit Gamble for a free farmers-friendly review of your insurance policy at 530-772-5041. That is 530-772-5041.
Rescue Sports Water is the first water that has been fused with 50 milligrams of potassium, which can help prevent muscle cramping and more. It still has that smooth taste. For more information, go to rescuesportswater.com.
Half of the United States population follows sports in some form or fashion. Sports is a billion-dollar industry. If you're not advertising with a sports team, you are simply missing the boat. Boys and girls sports is the foundation to this billion-dollar industry. EpicNewsSports.com is your doorway to helping your customers follow sports. Whether it's pro, college, or prep sports, it is a great investment of your advertising dollar. With half of the country following sports, you can too by visiting EpicNewsSports.com.
Sacramento's Money 105.5. Money 105.5 with Epic Sports Radio.
Welcome back to the show. My name is Charlton Curry with Glenn Spillman and Big C. We're talking NFL football. We're also going to talk some NBA later in the program. But, Glenn, I know you also have something to say.
You know, I want to give another shout-out to SIP up in Auburn. They're located at 337 Commercial Street. Go say hi to Jen Welch. She is the manager there. They will definitely take care of you. They're going to be open tomorrow till 3 p.m., and they're going to have $5 glasses on all open bottles all day long, so go make sure you check them out. And tell them that you heard about it on Epic Sports Radio.
And also, Glenn, I believe that when you advertise with Epic Sports Radio, we have a great outreach. Not only are we with Salem Media with the app, we're at 112 markets, but also, Glenn, people are listening worldwide.
Yeah, they are, man. Again, we got people in Japan, Croatia, Canada, France, Germany, all across the United States. And if you're a business that has an online presence, it doesn't matter if you're here in the Sacramento. You could reach, obviously, the world because you're on the World Wide Web. And when you advertise with Epic Sports Radio, you are reaching the world. And if you have any questions, give me a call, 916-420-0697.
And we want to mention that this NFL segment is brought to you by Trinuk Capital Investment Corporation with private funding of up to $500 million for your commercial and residential funding. If you've been denied by your lender, give Trinuk a call by calling 916-896-5757. And speaking of Big C, I know we were talking about NFL football. We just had Dr. Lamont Kavanaugh on from Oklahoma, and he was talking about some of the things that teams can do to stay safe in the game, because we know the game is a physical game. We just had all over the news Odell Beckham. The suspension will stick. He's going to have to miss a game this week. And I know that you had some thoughts on football, too, because it is a physical game. But what are your thoughts? It's not just Odell Beckham, but there are a lot of other things that are at play with the history of some of the tough guys in the NFL. What are your thoughts on NFL football? And then Odell Beckham, they're keeping that suspension in tow.
Well, I'd like to touch on what we talked about, you guys had talked about earlier on the concussion part. I had the privilege of seeing the movie over the weekend.
Oh, right on.
Now, a lot of the footage that people are going to see did not come under Roger Goodell's watch.
Yeah.
It's the previous two commissioners, Pete Rozelle and Paul Tagliabue. Much of the footage in that film came from under their watch, and concussion protocol wasn't what it is now. The NFL has made great strides in advancement in technology with the helmets, rules changes. The Rules Committee now has former players on it that are very much in line with the concussion protocol because many of them have experienced it. If you ever played football, you've experienced it, period.
Right.
But to touch on this Odell Beckham thing, you know, all the things that Odell Beckham was saying, that he felt intimidated, that there were slurs thrown at him. How can you feel intimidated if you're sitting there and you're talking with the opposing team quarterback and other players prior to the game? And even after the game, he was doing that. You know, that was an excuse he was trying to throw because he knew he had done something wrong.
Right.
Anyone who has played sports, Glenn, from high school through college through professional, there's trash talking.
Oh,
it starts
the
in
whole
locker
game.
room. You're talking about an opponent. I mean, I would say things to other players when I was playing. I had teammates go up and apologize for the things I said because they even felt bad about it. I said something so outrageous.
Yeah, they said that there was some baseball bats that were brought during pregame and kind of waving at him in a threatening manner. Of course, the homophobic slurs that were said and all this kind of stuff. And they said that his, and I put it in quotations, manhood was threatened. So that's kind of one of the reasons why he did what he did. That's coming from Ray Lewis.
Glenn, he's out on the field. Now, Ray Lewis probably threatened and talked as bad to anybody in the history of football that ever was a defensive player.
Yeah.
But everyone challenges your manhood in sports. I mean, what's the old phrase? Man up.
Yep.
I mean, that's part of sports. Man up. So all the slurs and all the profanities that are used out there in the arena, even officials turn a blind eye to it because they understand that it's part of the game. Even officials use profanity during the game. Don't think that they don't. They're not choir boys out there.
No, they're not.
They respond back.
Yeah.
And you get in their face, they're going to get in your face, Glenn.
Oh, yeah. I mean, there's some things out on the field that are said that make a sailor blush, man. I'm telling you. They talk about each other's mamas, everything, man.
They talk. There's no boundaries in the arena of sports when you're talking to, you want to talk about somebody trying to be intimidated and, called every name in the book. Did anybody ever see the movie 42 about Jackie Robinson?
Yes.
What did Jackie not go through?
Exactly.
I mean, he went through every racial, homophobic, and any other slur that you could come out with.
That's from the manager of the other team saying it,
Yeah. You not only had the managers, you had the owners, you had the fans in the stand, you had the opposing players, everybody. We talked about Jim Brown. We talked about football. In the era that he played in, when the racial divide was in America, you think he did not get racial slurs and homophobic slurs from opposing players?
Oh, yeah.
Jim didn't react to it in a negative way. He'd get up off the ground and say, hey, that's going to cost you another 12 yards.
Yeah.
Well,
and just go run over somebody.
And when you think about some of the tough guys that have played the game, the guys that have played the game like a Lyle Alzado or a Deacon Jones or a Dick Butkus.
Romanowski.
Bill Romanowski, who's actually on television I believe he spat in the eye of J.J. Stokes. He also punched Marcus Williams
on a Monday night game.
On a Monday night game. But here's a guy who his own teammate, he punched him in the eye, broke his socket, and it's his eye socket, Marcus Williams. And this is a guy that's still on television talking about the game and what should or shouldn't happen to a player. So when you talk about a Jackie Robinson and you talk about someone as great as Jim Brown having the composure not to retaliate in a game, what happens right now, Big C, is because the NFL does want violence.
Yes.
They just don't want to come out and advertise it, but they do have, like, the doomsday defense and the steel curtain.
Yeah.
But when a guy like Bill Romanowski, who was a great player, when he can have that type of behavior, that type of background, it's well known, well chronicled, but he's still on national television making a pretty nice paycheck, that's telling players that you tacitly consent to the violence in the league. It's a speed bump, but it's really not going to affect your career going forward, Big C.
Well, even Odell Beckham is more concerned about his career than he is about the team. He's about trying to be a showman. He's out there pregame trying to show these elaborate one-hand catches.
Yep.
He's wearing shoes with Christmas gifts on them during the game. He's more about highlighting Odell Beckham because he's on the cover of Madden.
Yeah.
So, and he's in Madison Avenue in New York, and he's taking his marketing to its height. Let's talk about the greatest wide receiver of all time, Jerry Rice.
Yes.
Yep.
You never heard about Jerry Rice going out making the game about himself.
No.
It was always team with Jerry
Always
Rice.
a team player,
Jerry Rice went out and warmed up with the team. He didn't draw any extra attention to himself. All he did was went out and perform. If you made him mad, he'd probably get 200 yards in receptions against you.
Yes.
Right.
But he didn't go trash talk anybody because he knew he needed to keep his composure. He needed to be able to read the defense. He wasn't the fastest of receivers, but he and Joe Montana had such a connection there in the Bay Area that he knew all he had to do was get open, and Joe would get him the ball.
There was a situation during the catch when Joe Montana found Dwight Clark in the corner of the end zone. They had actually worked on that play with Bill Walsh, but I remember that Joe Montana, he was being taunted the whole game by Ed Too Tall Jones. And after he threw the catch, then he went back and said a few things to Ed Too Tall that they had to bleep out on television. So it's happened even with the Hall of Fame players, but you never saw them get to the point where they penalized their team because they did have composure, Glenn, and it wasn't a me situation, and that's why Joe was so great. Don't think that they did not go under some type of criticism, as you mentioned, the great Jim Brown, and especially someone like Jackie Robinson. I think it's a mindset now, Big C, where you mentioned Odell Beckham has the Madden 2016 coming out.
Yeah.
These players nowadays, and they've earned it. They've actually earned the right to celebrate. But it's the mentality now that's not. It should not be acceptable, Big C.
It's like the former Dr. Martin Luther King said. It's about the content of your character.
Yeah.
That's what these players don't possess any longer. It's about, when you said me, they don't have character. It's all about what can I get now. Granted, as a professional athlete, you want to be able to optimize your income, but you can do that as a great player. You don't have to go out and with the antics of an Odell Beckham. And this show is not about Odell Beckham.
Right.
What really happened that game was lack of institutional control.
That's
When you talk about lack of institutional control, you have to talk about the head coach. He witnessed every play of that game. He saw all the antics of Odell Beckham. And even beyond him, who are the guys out on the field in the stripes? The zebras, the officials.
Yep.
You had officials jumping between this, letting this go. Now, this game was played in New York. Where's the league office at? Where's the head of officiating, those guys on replay? In New York. And you're going to tell me between all these institutional people that no one had a handle on the game? Let's not blame Odell Beckham. He's the only one that got suspended. But there should be suspensions coming down as an official crew being removed.
Yep.
There should be a fine that's tossed towards head coach Tom Coughlin. Don't just point this at Odell Beckham and Norman, the quarterback. There's people that were in charge that allowed this to occur.
Okay, what do you think about Josh Norman? His fine, he got fined $26,044. That's kind of odd, to $44. But he got $8,681 for a face mask, and then $17,363 for striking Beckham in the head and neck area. What do you think about that?
Glenn, how many offensive linemen get fined during the game? What do they do all game long?
Exactly.
They got hands in the face mask. They're striking each other in the head. Linebackers are doing it to running backs. That was a makeup penalty for the NFL.
I agree.
We got to make this up in some kind of way. We got to cover our butts showing we're not just one-sided. That was a farce as far as a penalty and, a fine towards Norman.
Yeah.
Why even throw it out there? Just say you screwed up as a league policing this thing. You
They
just
won't
screwed
do
up.
that.
Don't just throw it in everybody. But that's them covering their butt. Go after the officials and the head coach.
Yep.
Well, as we all talked about NFL football and how popular it is worldwide, we know Super Bowl 50 is coming up in San Francisco, Santa Clara on February the 7th. And last year was the most watched sporting event in the history of television in the United States because Americans love violence. I know we're here on the holidays and everybody's getting together with family and friends, but the more violent the sport, the more people tune in. It's kind of like the train wreck. And if you think about that, even though I know the gentleman came out and apologized, and everyone makes mistakes, but really what it is, when you have the coaches involved, Big C, there's not a lot that people are going to say that they don't like about what he did because it goes on every single week.
Well, Charlton, what is football on the professional level? You are paid to commit violence against another individual.
Yeah.
That's the insignia of your job.
That's true.
You are paid to commit violence against another individual. Don't worry about the touchdowns. Don't worry about the interceptions, the great passes. But the game is about violence. Basketball is a contact sport. We see guys hitting the floor all the time in basketball. But
hockey,
football, hockey. I mean, you're paid to fight. But in football, you're paid on every play to inflict pain and violence on your opponent. Because if you don't, you get blown off the field.
Yeah, and if you could take a guy out for a couple of plays, you don't injure him, but you just kind of hurt him a little bit for a couple of plays, there's nothing wrong with that. It's part of the game.
And we go back to
generally the backup is not as good as the starter.
Yeah.
Well, and then going back in the next 30 seconds before we go to the break, Big C, I still remember Bill Romanowski because he's on the Raiders Network, and he talks about NFL football with the Oakland Raiders every Sunday. But I think he mentioned that one of his best hits was a hit that he laid on a receiver, actually on a quarterback that broke his jaw. And so when you have that mentality and people are looking at being more physically tough and being more physically dominant and getting bigger and stronger and faster, that's something that the league actually loves. And we talk about that all the time as we talk about NFL football, Big C.
It's a badge of honor, unwritten badge of honor.
Yep.
That if you hit a guy and he doesn't get off the field, then you've done your job at the highest level. Yep. And as a defensive player, you're looking to render somebody unconscious. We talk about concussions.
Jack Tatum.
But that was the greatest thing you could do is render somebody unconscious or just laying there in his wake where he needed medical assistance to get off the field. That's what the game is about. We're going to talk about concussions forever. They're never going to leave football.
Right. Yeah, they don't pay 6'2", 170-pound players to play football. These guys, there's a reason why these guys bench press 400 pounds, and they're doing all this.
Try 5 and 6.
There you go. It's not to kind of push the guy around a little bit. It's about to take his head off, man.
Keep it all strapped up as we will love watching football this weekend. And also, the concussion movie comes out on Christmas Day. We'll cover more on football on the college level as we do every Wednesday at 4 o'clock p.m. Pacific Standard Time worldwide on Money 105.5.
From the Big Mountain Heating, Air, and Solar Traffic Center, Charlie Simons.
Roseville 65 heading southbound. Slow going, starting at Blue Oaks. Everybody trying to get to the malls. And then get on to 80 heading westbound. It's going to be slow travel until you get past Riverside. Heading eastbound on 80 coming in from Davis, so it's stop and go. Plenty of free parking into West Sac and across the top of town even until you get past the Cap City split. Other directions starting at Madison Avenue until you get past where that roadway is reduced down to 3 lanes. At Longview Drive, it's going to be very sluggish as well. I-5 southbound coming out of Woodland. Slows down even before 113 until you get past the airport. You see something I missed? Let me know at thematacars.com traffic tip line at 830-3077. That's how you're driving. I'm Charlie Simons.
This hour is sponsored by Lexus of Sacramento's December to Remember.
On approved credit price plus tax, 36-month term, 10,000 annual miles, 25 cents every mile over, $39.99 total due from customer. Lease inception, including $3,500. Lexus rebate, stock number 116105. See dealer for details.
The Lexus RCF is on the ground now, just in time for December to Remember. It's Kitty, and this thoroughbred features the most powerful Lexus engine ever, 467 horsepower. Plus, it's got an 8-speed direct shift transmission, and you can lease it now for $699 a month. Place yourself in the lap of powerful luxury with an RCF from Lexus of Sacramento, 2600 Fulton Avenue, online at lexusofsacramento.com.
What is your favorite thing about Capital Christian School?
I love to play Arisa. I love to sing and dance. I love to paint. My favorite thing is chapel.
Well, you heard it from the experts. Capital Christian School's Early Education Center has lots of favorites for children's ages 2 through 5. Academics, arts, and all kinds of fun await your child at Capital Christian School. For more information, call 856-5630 or go to ccscougars.org.
Merry Christmas!
Fridays at 2. Lock it into Money 105.5 for the Rush Hour for Success. It's a show dedicated to your success, with information about what's going on in the community, reviews of places to visit around Sacramento, and of course, topics that involve experts in money strategies, business, real estate, and things that matter most in life. Join the walk star himself, Jim T. Chon, plus the theater queen, Cammie Ferry. Get entertained, get educated, and get with the rush for success. Fridays at 2 on Money 105.5.
Money 105.5 has a new show featuring experienced elder law attorney Justin M. Gilbert. He answers questions regarding estate planning, changes to trust law, Medi-Cal, veterans benefits, protecting your property from the cost of long-term care, and other topics the insurance companies do not want you to know about.
Listen every Tuesday morning at 10 on Money 105.5 or contact Justin at 916-932-2108. 932-2108 or go to justinmgilbert.com and listen to Legacy Planning Radio every Tuesday morning at 10 on Money 105.5.
Half of the United States population follows sports in some form or fashion. Sports is a billion-dollar industry. If you're not advertising with a sports team, you are simply missing the boat. Boys and girls sports is the foundation to this billion-dollar industry. EpicNewsSports.com is your doorway to helping your customers follow sports. Whether it's pro, college, or prep sports, it is a great investment of your advertising dollar. With half of the country following sports, you can too by visiting EpicNewsSports.com.
This is Sacramento's Money 105.5. This is Epic Sports Radio on Money 105.5 and Money1055.com.
Welcome back to the show. My name is Charlton Curry with Glenn Spillman and Big C. We're talking NFL football as we do every Wednesday at 4 o'clock p.m. Pacific Standard Time on Money 105.5. And also, before we get back into football, if you want to advertise, Glenn has a message.
Yeah, you just give me a call at 916-420-0697. If you do not advertise on a sports show in some manner, you're kind of missing the boat. Because I'm watching football, and we got places like Macy's, K Jewelers, all that kind of they're smart. They know where to advertise, and give me a call, and we'll work something out for you.
And speaking of working something out, my goodness, Big C, I know you love football. And I know we have a Thursday night game coming up with the Oakland Raiders at home.
The Raiders.
Just win, baby, versus the San Diego Chargers. And it pains me to say this, and I hope it doesn't happen, but could this be the last home game for the Oakland Raiders at the Coliseum with the NFL trying to put two teams in Los Angeles? San Diego may be one of them. And they're also talking about Oakland. What are your thoughts on that move coming up, Big C?
Well, I think if the NFL makes that move, it won't be two AFC teams going to Los Angeles. You got the Rams in play also that have been trying to get out of their lease in St. Louis. And I think the Rams are a more natural fit. If you look at it, San Diego and the Rams both started out in Los Angeles.
Yes.
They were originally the Los Angeles Chargers as well as the Los Angeles Rams. So I think that's a more natural fit. I'd love to see Oakland stay in the Bay Area. I think that balance between the 49ers and the Raiders is good for the NFL to have clean teams in that proximity. You hate to see a team leave a city because there's always something left behind.
Yeah, again.
We talk about the teams, but look at the infrastructure that they leave as far as all of those people who rely on their livelihood around that season.
Yeah.
Whether it's the parking lot attendants, whether it's the concessionaires, whether it's people who have their own residents who rent out their yards as parking lots. There's a domino effect that hurts everybody. So I hope none of those teams leave, even though we know it's going to happen for the money. But I don't think it's always good for football because you look at what happened to the Raiders the last time they went to Los Angeles.
Yes.
After several years, attendance dwindled and they came back to Oakland.
Yeah.
I remember guys like John Vella. In fact, as we talk about the Raiders, Al Davis, we know he's part of why we have the NFL. We have the NFL versus the AFL, and I think ESPN or the NFL Network is doing a show on Thursday called Timeline. We talked about it last week, how the leagues merged. And I know, Big C, you have some information, some inside information on some of the players that made the Oakland Raiders great. And I know they have San Francisco, but the Raiders were so great because the 49ers were struggling at that time. And even though Al Davis, he was a balkanizing figure for the Raiders, but he galvanized that team, and he helped galvanize the league into become as great as it is today. But some of the great players, whether it's a Cliff Branch or Ken Stabler or John Vella, there are so many great players that made up the Oakland Raiders. And if they go south, that's kind of leaving where they became great, kind of leaving that behind, Big C.
Well, those alumni that you talk about being part of the lineage of the Raiders and the Bay Area where they made their history, you know, they talk about players being model citizens and all of that. I mean, the Raiders led the league in non-model citizens back in the 70s.
They did.
I mean, they were popular, you know, with the NFL and also the police blog, you know, with everybody.
Yeah.
You know, they were number one on both lists. These guys, you know, live life on the edge. I remember Dr. Dec, cornerback, number 26 out of USC, played with the Raiders.
Yeah.
You know, Dr. Dec used to have to check himself into the hospital the night before on all home games just to get some rest because he partied like there was no tomorrow. John Matuszak, we talked about the twos.
Yep.
You know, he was famous about telling everybody to come cruise with the twos because he knew nothing about a curfew.
Yeah, Stabler used to drink beer during halftime, so he fully admitted that. He's like, yeah, that's what I did, man. So,
well, you know, Glenn, back in the day, alcohol was passed out in the locker room to players. I mean, beer was on everyone's stool when we played.
Oh, nice.
Not only that, we had players smoking before the game. At halftime, first thing they do, walk in the locker room, fire up cigarettes.
Yeah.
You know, and you would wonder how players could play. I don't think it's still at that level today, but smoking was prevalent in the locker rooms in those days.
Yeah.
And, you know, players couldn't wait to get it. You know, players, you know, would go out. We had an offensive tackle at one point, you know, every game before the game, the night before, he had to have a 12-pack of beer just to be stable.
Because they get dehydrated so much. They get so much dehydration and sweating through their pores.
Yeah.
But let me ask you this.
The electrolytes that are in the beer was outstanding. I'm not advocating that for youth. But,
exactly.
you know, on a professional level, these guys were adults above 21, and it was allowed for them to do that.
Right.
Let me ask you this question, Big C, and then we'll throw it over to Glenn. When you talk about the Raiders, this would be the second time if they go back, and I hope they don't. In my heart, I believe it's going to be St. Louis, the Rams going back, and then San Diego. I know it's tough for those markets, but let's face it, St. Louis is really a baseball city. Even though they have a Super Bowl there, they're a baseball town. And San Diego is a great place because they even host the Super Bowl there. But I think the fan base that follows sports all over the country, whether you are a Raider fan or not, as this happens more and more, Glenn, I think it makes more teams less stable. And we talk about players making billions of, not players, but the league making billions of dollars.
$12 billion last year.
It shows that money talks and people are not loyal. They're loyal to the dollar, and the NFL is leading the way in that, Big C.
Well, it comes down to who's going to give me a stadium.
Yes.
That's what it comes down to. If you look at
that's
the Atlanta
legitimate
Falcons,
argument, you know, seriously.
The Atlanta Falcons are building a new stadium right now. It's going to be about $1.6 billion once it's done. The Georgia Dome is only, 25 years old?
Yeah, 20 years old, yeah.
It's less than half the age of the Oakland Alameda County Coliseum. The Los Angeles Coliseum hosted the 1936 Olympics.
Yeah.
So we know it has some time on it.
Yes.
So when you have these teams willing to build new arenas, the Giants are playing in the new MetLife Stadium.
Yeah.
The old Meadowlands Stadium opened up in like 71.
Yes.
Yeah.
So these teams are getting new homes to play in. The Dallas Cowboys, you know, playing in AT&T Stadium.
Yeah.
You know, the Colts got a new stadium in Indianapolis a couple of years ago, Lucas Oil Stadium.
Yeah, look at Minnesota.
The Hoosier Dome that they had there wasn't that old. Minnesota's getting a new dome stadium. Detroit got one a few years ago, Ford Field, where they closed up Pontiac, where the 49ers beat Cincinnati in the Super Bowl.
Yes.
Back in '83. So these teams are getting new arenas.
Yeah.
And teams who are not getting arenas are saying, hey, we can do better financially if someone builds us a stadium. That's how the Rams ended up in St. Louis.
But then all the stadium, when you build that, the the price goes to the fans. They suffer with the ticket sales. We talked about that just right here. The Georgia Dome opened up September 6, 1992. That's not that old. I can give Minnesota because their roof collapsed in, so I'll give him that one. But, yeah, it's all about money on these new stadiums.
Well, it comes down to luxury boxes. You know, that's what they're looking for. The new stadium that they're building in Atlanta, I believe, has 26 more luxury boxes than the old stadium. So you're going to spend and Glenn, when you talked about the fans absorbing the seat costs,
yes.
Not only that, Arthur Blank, the owner of the Falcons, is only putting $400 million into this stadium.
Only.
So where's the other $1.2 billion coming from?
Yeah, the city.
The taxpayers.
Yeah, taxpayers. You know, we got a gentleman sitting here, one of our sponsors, Sean Allen with X-Life Powerboards. He's a big-time Raider fan. Sean, as a fan, what's it going to mean to you if the Raiders pick up and say, peace out?
It's going to be rough. I mean, they've left once and came back.
Right.
For them to leave again would be, pretty bad.
Do you think that's an unforgivable sin if they leave and come back again for some reason?
I think they're going to lose a portion of their fan base behind it. I mean, there'll be a portion that will stay and they'll accept the fact as much as it'll suck.
Will fans start burning jerseys?
Well, I don't think
No,
they'll
I don't
start
think they'll burn them.
I don't think they're going to burn jerseys. But, I don't think it's a good move. I think they need to stay where they came up at in Oakland. Yes, they do need another stadium, but I just think that going back to L.A. is not the answer.
Okay, Big C, what do you think from a player standpoint and a fan as well? What do you think the impact will be, whether it's St. Louis, San Diego, or Oakland, if they leave the city? And I know that they're leaving back all those jobs because, I mean, the team employs several hundred people.
Yeah.
What do you think the impact, or should L.A. just start with a whole new team, period?
It would be nice to see the NFL expand once again, but when you talk about impact, there's emotional and financial. You're talking about the players and the inner structure of the organization leaving.
Right.
But what about all those auxiliary people who work with the team, who help the team, that are not actually part of the team? What's going to happen to their employment? I mean, we leave a huge unemployment base. All the ushers, the security.
Yep.
Those people don't move with the team.
No, they don't.
All the front office staff doesn't move. Secretaries, people like that, they're not leaving.
That's
the
definitely
security
true.
that's in the parking lot, at the facilities, at the practice facilities, and the game facilities, they're not leaving with the team. So we're going to leave hundreds of people laying in their wake looking for employment. They have to go to the unemployment line right off the bat.
Well, we know that sports is big and moving around the country is big. All the people with the money talks. And every Wednesday at 4 o'clock p.m. on Epic Sports Radio, we'll talk sports with NFL football and some NBA basketball as well as college football. Wednesday, 4 o'clock p.m. Pacific Standard Time, worldwide on Money 105.5.
This hour is sponsored by Lexus of Sacramento's December to Remember.
Rescue Sports Water is the first water that has been fused with 50 milligrams of potassium, which can help prevent muscle cramping and more. It still has that smooth taste. For more information, go to rescuesportswater.com.
Get life insurance in 3 easy steps. California license number 0180132. Number 1, no physical. Number 2, no blood test. Number 3, no medical exam. Qualify for $5,000 or more in final expense. Affordable rates. We cover the VA and seniors. Ask a senior life agent to contact you about retirement, annuities, and a life insurance policy. Call 916-896-5757. Protect the people you love. Call 916-896-5757.
Holiday mattress sale at Mattress by Appointment Sacramento. All mattresses are 80% off retail store prices. We buy directly from the factory and pass the savings on to you. I show them by appointment only to keep our overhead costs low, which saves you money. All inventory is brand new and sealed. I have pillow tops, gel foam, memory foam, plush, and Euro tops. Don't miss your opportunity to get the mattress you have been dreaming about. At these prices, they won't last long. $40 down takes home a mattress set. No credit needed. Call Chuck today at Mattress by Appointment Sacramento, 916-230-0113.
At Gamble Insurance Agency, we put the odds in your favor. We handle most or all of your insurance needs and act as your insurance advisor. We will put together a suitable buying strategy with your financial future in mind. We are an independent farmers agency. Call Kit Gamble for a free farmers-friendly review of your insurance policy at 530-772-5041. That is 530-772-5041.
X-Life Power Boards is revolutionizing the way you travel. Our boards are intelligent, innovative, and empowering. These boards feature Bluetooth speaker, 2 motors, Samsung long life battery. They are waterproof and dustproof, and they are faster than most models out there on the market. And you can buy a board for as low as $72 a month. So come join us at X-Life and get a board. Live free, ride free. XLPowerboards.com.
Money 105.5, Money1055.biz, the premier show for all your sports needs. Epic Sports Radio on Money 105.5.
Welcome back to the show. My name is Charlton Curry, Glenn Spillman, and Big C, and we are on Epic Sports Radio.
All right, and this section is brought to you by Buns Sports Pub and Grub. Check them out, 311 Judah Street. Tonight they're having Wing Wednesday. Right now in studio we got Sean Allen, which is one of the sponsors of the show. He's going to tell you everything. I'm holding in my hand, man, a really cool hoverboard. It's a X-Life Power Boards. You can go check them out. Sean, what do you want people to know about this?
I want them to know that I have a high-quality product, and you can find it at XL.
Does it catch on fire like everybody else?
No, it does not. You can find it at xlpowerboards.com. You can follow me on Facebook at X-Life Power Boards, and on Instagram at X-Life Power Boards. Check it out. You can email me. You can call me at 916-869-6831.
Yeah, and they got financing for this bad boy, too. I'm telling you, man, this thing is built like a Russian tank, man.
Yeah, the financing's coming.
It's got the lights, it's got the music, and it is a beautiful thing. So give Sean a call and go check it out. And, man, this thing is awesome. I'm going to ride this after the show.
I love the way it looks. I love the way it looks. And speaking of loving the way it looks, and Big C, we want to thank you so much. In about the next 20 seconds, Big C, what are your thoughts on NFL football and the thoughts going into the week?
Well, I'm loving the Carolina Panthers and the Seattle Seahawks. I mean, you got the 2 hottest quarterbacks in the NFL. I think it should be a co-MVP. But I'd like to see the Panthers go 16-0.
Amen, brother.
They are definitely looking good. And everyone out there, go see the movie Concussion with Will Smith on Christmas Day. And it shows you how to stay safe playing sports. And you can follow sports and Epic Sports Radio every Wednesday at 4 o'clock p.m. Pacific Standard Time worldwide on Money 105.5.
And we want to say Merry Christmas to everybody. Don't forget that, brother. Merry Christmas.
Happy holidays.
Yes, and thanks for listening. We'll see you next week. Or actually, we won't see you. You'll
listen to it.
Yeah, amen, brother.